Profile share via email report story. Chapter 25 True Feelings Been Told. Hang on, Deku-kun. She squeaked as she used all her strength to pull him in her room. Izuku then climbed up but felt a lot of pain coming from his arm due to the amount of weight pulling him down, causing Ochako to pull him up harder. It was painful, honestly. He groaned loudly as he gave him a big push up as he started climbing in, almost there. Ochako told as he jumped inside her room. Izuku immediately landed on the floor as he laid down, completely exhausted. Same goes for Ochako. She panted, trying to catch her breath. She then looked over to him. What were you thinking? She asked. The other boy, still laying down in pain, answered. I'm sorry, I know that was such a dumb idea. He promptly sat up and looked straight back at her. His eyes soon turned serious as he stared intently at her. She noticed it and she looked around the place awkwardly, avoiding his eye contact. She was wearing such exposed clothes. Her loose pink tank top and blue shorts, completely unaware that Izuku would visit her so suddenly. She covered a bit of herself, trying her best to not show. So, what are you doing here? She asked, looking down. Izuku then realized that he has been staring at her for a long time, so he immediately averted her eyes. He kept quiet, not sure what to say. Still, he swore in his head. This was the perfect chance to tell her everything. No one is listening, it's just Ochako, the person whom he only wanted to talk to. He can't waste this chance. Uraraka-san, he paused. I'm really sorry for acting like that towards you. Ochako's eyes were half-lidded, as she looked down, showing a rather bereft expression at him. Izuku knew those words weren't enough. I'm sorry for avoiding you without even considering how you feel about that. Sorry for always thinking of myself, without getting a chance to ask you if you're okay with this, but instead I just left you without saying anything. She furrowed her eyebrows and scowled at him. You keep saying sorry, she muttered. Izuku heard it and he started to frown. He doesn't know what to say next. He clearly was an idiot. Uraraka-san, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. Something I have never thought I would say. She gazed at him, slowly. Her face giving a sign for him to continue. He was absolutely nervous as hell. He was so anxious saying this. Never in his life has he felt this way. Uraraka-san. He took in a big inhale. I like you. Then silence came. Izuku closed his eyes, already having the mixture of fear and relief after saying those words. But the problem was, there was no response from her. He opened his eyes steadily, only finding her with an apathetic look. He was truly shocked with her reaction, not expecting this type of results. He guessed he had high hopes. Then, she said, then, what does that mean? That wasn't an answer he was expecting. Is Izuku getting rejected? He thought this would go well, but it wasn't what he had planned. His brain couldn't process of what's happening. Promoted stories. You'll also like Mania, Katsuki Bakugo, 161K 7.6K. Mania UA. High is the birthplace of legendary pro heroes and a bountiful source of memories. Memories are meant to be cherished. Memories are what make our lives. My feelings for you Iswocha short story. 30.9K 583. Ochako Uraraka has been best friends with Izuku Midoriya since their first year at Ua High School. She has also had a crush on him since then, but has never told him. BU. Stars aligned Katsuki Bakugo X Fem. Re. 118K 3.5K. A new student enrolled into UA, one with abilities she cannot begin to fathom, abilities she never knew of and cannot control. As dangers lurk at every corner, the Vil. The couples of Class 1A. 14K421. Love is a tricky thing, and it's different for everyone. That is something the students of Class 1A quickly understand as their school life unfolds around them. Todoric, the Support General Course. Quirkless. Deck. 41K 1.3K. Izuku got into UA, just not the hero course. Taking both support and general classes, Izuku aims to graduate from UA after giving up on his hero dreams. Quirkless is. Get a hint, will you? 3.4K32. Hey everyone, this is actually my first story, so I really apologize for any spelling, grammar mistakes. Completed. There will be bonus chapters, though. Related and not. A Hero's Love Desire. 3.6K71. It's almost Valentine's Day and Izuku Midoriya, Deku is starting to realize that he has a crush on Ochako Uraraka, but he doesn't know if she feels the same way. He tries. Then, he tried to ask her, seeing if he said something wrong. She scoffed as she glared her eyes at him. If you're being forced to say that to make me feel better, then stop it. He stared blankly at her. Forcing her. What is she talking about? Since when did she thought of that? That's not true. Wait. Uraraka-san. That's no. Enough. Deku-kun. You don't have to. She cut him off, standing up, as she walked towards her bedroom door. You can leave now. Uraraka-san. Stop it. That's not true. I said stop it. He flinched with her raised voice. She didn't understand what he meant. He felt frustrated and confused. This wasn't what he wanted. He doesn't want her to think he's lying. She stood in the middle of the room, stopping her tracks on her way to the door. She gritted her teeth, holding back her tears. Izuku just stared at her back, unable to say any words. Maybe it's because she doesn't want to listen to him or let him talk. He knew he shouldn't just shut his mouth like that. Leave, she demanded. She was serious. She didn't want to face him at all. The male, on the other hand, thought it was best to just follow what she had said. Izuku nodded slowly with a frown. He squinted his eyes and spoke back. Fine, but there's one thing I wanna tell you. Ochako kept silent, waiting for him to answer. But she knew that he was just going to lie and deny his feelings for her again. So she waited for his response before she could stop him once again. The green-haired took a deep breath and raised his voice to his heart content. Ochako. The brunette gasped and turned around to face him, shocked that he called her by her first name. He wasn't allowed to, or he was just that desperate. She wasn't expecting that kind of response from him. Deku-ku, she called softly as she turned around. But she was cut off by the most unexpected action, and both of them didn't see it coming. She was stopped by Izuku, placing his lips on hers, accidentally and unconsciously kissing him back. He kissed her. It was so sudden, he didn't realize he placed his lips a little too hard. None of them moved or gently did the slightest movement in that kiss. Ochako had her eyes bulging and her cheeks blushing red crimson, with it flowing so much blood around it, feeling her face hot. She was undeniably surprised with his action. Izuku, on the other hand, couldn't believe what he had done as well. He kept thinking to himself if this was the right answer or thing to do. He never would have thought of getting the chance to kiss Ochako's lips. After that awkward, soft kiss, Izuku broke it and embarrassingly looked straight into her widened eyes as he witnessed her red face. She squirmed her mouth, nervously. Dida Deku K-kun. She was stuttering so much, since her brain couldn't process of what just happened. Ochako, he said in a serious tone. I am really, madly in love with you. He finally said it. He, too, felt embarrassed with everything he's saying, but he knew it was the truth. He still waited for her response, but she didn't find any at all. He thought it was fine, since he kissed her off guard, so it was no joke she couldn't say anything immediately about what just happened. So he continued. Even if you still don't accept it, I would kiss you 100 times until you believe me. He was dead serious with his feelings. Not what Ochako expected from him. She was wrong. Her mouth squirmed even more, completely embarrassed. Why you shouldn't do something like that all of a sudden. She then placed her hands gently on her small lips. Izuku scratched the back of his nape, nervously with a low chuckle. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kiss you out of nowhere. That's all I could think of. She gulped with her face all sweaty. I didn't say I exactly disliked it. He widened his eyes, surprised that she didn't hate him for it. She squinted her eyes, embarrassed with the words she said, and suddenly pushed Izuku down to the ground as he sat on the floor with Ochako sitting on his lap. You Uraraka-san, please, just call me Ochako. He gulped in response, anxious with the amount of small space between their faces. She then continued. So you actually do love me? The other male took a second before responding with a nod. Why yeah. To be honest, I never knew when did these feelings brought up. He laughed nervously at his bluntly dense brain. She chuckled at him with a smile. Her smile, Izuku thought. How long has it been since he saw that warm, bright smile of hers? That smile that could cure himself from everything he has been through. He really does love her. All of a sudden, the brunette went closer to him. As their bodies made contact, she placed her hands on his shoulders and soon gave him a hug. She then whispered, I love you, too, Deku-kun. Ever since that night of the dance, his eyes widened even more and watched her let go of the hug and look directly up at her eyes. Indeed, that night of the dance was very unforgettable for the both of them. That's when their feelings for each other grew and grew even more when they started becoming close. Hey, Deku-kun, she went closer. Can we do that kiss again? Izuku widened his eyes, not expecting those kinds of words from her and actually thinking that she would want it again. But he agreed. I guess so. The first one was a bit messy. She gave off an awfully embarrassed smile, her cheeks burning red, but what Izuku just heard was something he wanted to do, and getting her approval was something he didn't want to avoid. Being bold, and wanting that kiss again, he placed his hand on the back of her neck and his other hand on her soft, plump cheeks. How he have always wanted to touch those chubby, soft cheeks. Ochako widened her eyes, taken aback with the sudden agreement of the kiss, so she immediately went along and closed her eyes slowly, placing her palms on his chest. Izuku moved his head more up to reach her lips as she sat on his lap. Finally, their lips made contact, touching as they smoothly brushed against each other. It was a small, soft kiss on the lips and was calm. Since it was Izuku's first time, he was pretty careless with it, so as Ochako, but the both of them didn't know and yet didn't care about it at all. They just want to spend this coveted moment and cherish it. His lips went bold as he went deeper. Ochako hummed in response, gladly going for it as soon as the two deepened the kiss. Ochako slightly stick out her tongue to enter his mouth.
Fucking that tablet's talking. Make it stop. It's scaring me.
Izuku was caught by surprise, feeling her tongue entering his mouth as it poked his teeth. Not knowing what to do, he copied her by letting her enter his mouth as his tongue gently caressed with hers. She squeaked a bit, feeling his tongue. After a few seconds, both of them broke the kiss and catch their breath. The two panted with their breaths fanning against each other. I've always wanted T to do this with you. He spoke after that. Ochako began to blush once again, feeling herself burned up even more with the amount of blood rushing through her cheeks. Deku-kun, I think. But then, Izuku held her shoulder and pushed her back a bit, enabling him to stand up. Ochako, on the other hand, looked up at him, confused.
Oh, boo-hoo!
He began to sweat and looked away nervously. I think I should better go now. He then made his way to her door. What is this feeling? It can't be helped. Especially when she's wearing that. He thought to himself. Wait. Ochako grabbed onto his shirt, stopping him from leaving. Izuku looked back at her, completely surprised. Don't go, she muttered under her breath, with a dejected expression, begging him to stay. Izuku has never seen someone so beautiful, and that face immediately warmed his heart. Cute, he stated, but this feeling was burning up inside of him. He has never felt this way before and he doesn't know why, he just can't control it somehow. Seriously, what is this feeling? Is it because of how Ochako is dressed? Or is it because the atmosphere is looking a little bit eerie for him? But that face was something he wanted to see more of. Oh, okay. He accepted, but as soon as he did, Ochako promptly stood up and gave him yet another warm hug. But the words she said to him next made Izuku full of disbelief. Sleep with me for tonight. He responded. Ura. Oh, Ochako, why would you say something like that? She let go of the hug, looking intently into his eyes as if she's serious about her words. Deku-kun, it's been far too long since we've ever made contact like this. But this chance was the greatest I have ever had, she said. Me too, he agreed in his mind. She continued, and I want this opportunity to not just end like this. She then looked down, with that same look, her eyes shimmering against the moonlight and her cheeks burning up red. I really missed you. Please don't go now. Again, that look. It made Izuku felt rather riled up in a way where he felt his heart about to burst. He felt excited. But he would never thought of that. But that feeling was uncontrollable. He didn't care what would be the consequences if he obeyed those feelings. He unconsciously, but at the same didn't, grabbed her soft cheeks and went in for another kiss. Ochako was surprised but glad to feel those hot lips of his once more. It was a short one as he broke it again and looked straight into those eyes. I'll never leave you again. Ochako's cheek became even redder. The face he made was so heartwarming, and yet she was more in love with this serious side of him. Ah, she screamed as Izuku boldly carried her in bridal style and made his way to her bed. Ed. Deku-kun. He gently placed her down on her bed and immediately went on top of her. His breath was uneasy and he has that expression as if he was longing for her for so long. Both of them looked straight at each other. Ochako felt rather nervous. I'm sorry, Ochako. I actually don't know what I'm feeling right now, he spoke, which made Ochako widen her eyes. He then set his head next to her neck and whispered in her ear. Maybe it's because of the way you dressed. The brunette gasped sharply and watched Izuku lift his head back up, panting his breath as if he was hungry. She wasn't expecting this to happen, but she didn't mention she didn't like it. She then furrowed her eyebrows, covering her chest, and pouted. It can't be helped. I wear this at home, but I didn't expect that you would come by. He hooded his eyes and he did a small smile at her. You're so cute. Ochako almost jumped when he said those words with that kind of expression on his look. He looked hot for some reason, but never in her life would she see him that way. But the atmosphere was getting more intense as the two were feeling it for each other. She doesn't know what to do next but to just hear out Izuku. Ochako widened her eyes when Izuku placed his forehead on hers with the warm contact between them. My heart is beating really fast. He spoke. Ochako breathed heavily but tried to calm down her nervousness. Me too. Izuku squinted his eyes, furrowing brows, closing the gap slowly for another kiss. But before he could, he stopped himself. I can't go any further. Huh, she stared blankly at him as he laid down next to her after. She looked over to him as he rested his hand on his forehead, looking up at the ceiling. I'm sorry, Ochako. I almost pushed the limits. I have never felt this way before. She saddened her eyebrows and saw him thinking hard. She didn't want him to overthink about this. She never said that they should stop and not do those things. This was actually what she wanted. So she pushed herself up and sat on his lower stomach. Izuku was taken by surprise and saw her on top of him. Ochako. Deku-kun. To be honest, I know I'm not supposed to do this but I can't help it, it's your fault I'm feeling this way. Izuku gulped, hoping for her not to notice. And I felt your teething BB bulging ever since we did that second kiss. Until now, I can still feel it. She commented shyly. The other male cursed to himself when she said that she felt it from the start. He couldn't control it, that's why it was still like that. It's because of the way you dress. He looked away, embarrassingly. The girl chuckled in response and began unbuttoning his polo shirt, slowly exposing his chest halfway. Izuku watched her with disbelief. Ochako, he called unsurely. She pouted and stopped her actions, looking down with embarrassment. If I did that to you, I will take responsibility. Izuku widened his eyes, shocked. And no, it's fine. It's normal for guys to have this, I think. So you don't have to. She pouted at him more, furrowing her brows, annoyed with his halting. She was okay with this. After all, boldly, she lifted her tank top up, slowly exposing her undergarments. After she took it off completely, she was left there with her bra alone on her upper body.
It's okay.
Izuku, on the other hand, bulged his eyes as if it was about to pop out. He covered a bit of his eyes and screamed, wait. What are you doing, Ochako? He then felt his hands being moved away from his eyes by her. She looked down at him with hooded eyes with slight embarrassment. Deku-kun, please don't cover your eyes like that. It's as if you don't want to see me. Izuku gulped and placed his hands away as told. His eyes kept looking at her face with all his might, then slowly to her chest area, then back to her face. He couldn't control it. It's because you just removed it out of nowhere, he said. Ochako continued to stare at him, hoping she was doing the right thing. Then came along with her hands placing gently on his bare chest. Hey, Deku-kun, she called. Izuku looked back at her, waiting for her to continue. But the words she said were even more shocking that it almost made him jump out of the bed. Do you want to do it with me? So I decided to publish earlier, hahaha. I got too excited, whoops. And also, I'll be publishing next chapter this Friday. Greater than, even though I have exams going on. I wanna finish this already. Laughing face we. So what you guys think? Will they do it? That was a pretty long chapter for only the both of them. But y'all, I'ma just end it right there. 33 hey. But seriously, the chapter was already too long, ha. This was the hardest to make since I want to make this extra special, since it's the two of them, buoy. The main couple, and yes, I have waited for months for this moment to happen, to be honest. I hope you enjoyed yet another chapter of this book. Just saying, It's almost the end, sad face. Hope to see you guys next week. Please vote if you'd like and comment as well. I really love reading every single one of your comments. Seriously. Alright now, goodbye. Where stories live. Discover